Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Thursday, the 22nd of February. So, the euro dollar first, it seems to be the potential. There is some potential here, but potentially we'll get it wrong, we'll see. Now, today we've got the ECB monetary policy meeting accounts coming out at 12:30. I generally, because historically these have been no good to worry about, I've totally ignored them, but last month, the previous month, we saw that Draghi hadn't been completely honest, and it surprised the market so much that we saw a huge spike. So, once bitten, twice shy. Well, I'll be very wary of those minutes now. The policy of being open didn't obviously relate to last month. So be careful of this. For if we're trading this through, it may have positive or negative impact. We'll see. But for the euro at the moment, I'm looking first in terms of news. There is other news out there, but at the moment it's getting to a point. Come back to that daily. It's just sitting on its daily trend line there. From way back, it's really a key point here of whether it goes from sort of still holding on in that sort of bullish zone to whether it becomes proper negative against the US dollar. I mean, it's certainly edging that way on the shorter time frames, one would argue, easily enough, certainly in this intermediate 60-minute time frame. However, we're sitting there at the moment, not quite down to the S1, daily S1. There is the potential for that daily pivot to be hit today. Got caught yesterday eventually. We certainly got the potential for it to run up there. There's arguably some divergences running across the lows at the moment, which could see that happening. In terms of points, there's probably not that many points there. 25 pip or 26, 27 pips from where we're sitting at the moment. We just want to see the 8 o'clock candle out of the way, really. The 7 o'clock candle out of the way into the 8 o'clock zone, personally, for that. But has some potential, but certainly if it just dives into the 21s again, maybe we should be looking at reversing if any longs and shorting it. So certainly a move into the pivot itself, if you just waited for the pivot to be hit, maybe a sell point as well. This really is a test of that long-term trend line. Okay, pound. Now we've got news out at 9:30 this morning, which will affect the pound potentially. It's the second estimate of GDP. These generally come in line, totally in line with the first estimate, and hence we see little movement. But be aware, traders, be aware. So same thing here. We've got the trend line here. We're sitting right into it at the moment. Yes, it's pitched it a little bit, but it's pretty much around that trend line at the moment. It's whether these trend lines can hold effectively. It's quite good that you got two at the same time. May create some dollar selling here marginally, but the news yesterday was relatively sound. Again, with the pound, there's the daily pivot as a target potentially on the upside there. I can't see so much in the way of divergences across any of the indicators. I have to really look for them and know there's. I can't see anything there in terms of divergences. Let's just check there. No. Okay, so. There is the potential. It's a little bit more of a gap towards its 60.21, so it may offer a bit of movement. But as I said, it's got the first one to have news come out this morning. Right, although it could well be dead news unless we get a rare change. Right, dollar yen. Dollar yen, well, it's running up short of its trend line at the moment. However, it too is correcting a little bit at the moment. As I look at this, there was some divergence on the 4-hourly time frame, or it just pitched into a bit of divergence territory on that 4-hourly time frame. So it could see a bit more of a correction there. We've come down to 60 minutes. We've already hit the daily pivot there and the S1. It's really, short term, we could be looking at a trend line across the lows of this point here, and maybe trading it back towards. With that 60-minute 200 still facing south, we could be trading it back down towards that 100 MA. But again, I'd wait post 8 o'clock for these to see what happens. Aussie dollar, let's move on there. Aussie dollar and Aussie dollar, another one, actually just dropped below the trend line there. it's struggling a little bit, but it's found a bit of support off the monthly S1 there at the moment, but it does look still weak, and it's got an extreme sort of sitting in there on that 4 hourly, so any bounce may be met with another move down. Looking at the 60 minutes, well, it's more of a consolidation move here than a sort of a pucker pullback, although certainly you've got slightly higher lows there and higher highs in the short term, but it's more, as I say, more consolidated than a decent move through the Asian session. That may mean that we'll see a better move through the London session, but keeping clear of that at the moment. And the Canadian dollar, well, we have seen it pitch up this morning, yesterday rather, through that trend line there, a little bit bolder. It's looking at what's happening elsewhere, sorry, it's just shy of that daily 200, which may provide some resistance to the upside, combined with the monthly R2 there as well. So potential resistance sitting just above, but it does still, I say, look, I mean, bear in mind it's US dollar, Canadian dollar. The US dollar still looks relatively strong against the Canadian dollar here. Again, daily pivots below, so it needs to sell off, so there's certainly some targets, but for now, that's slow. It's been like that most of the week in terms of long, slow periods, and probably best avoided. So that really leaves the pound or the euro. As I said, both have got news coming out today. Normally it's news that doesn't move the market, but who knows. Have a great day. Bye for now.